And then what I also think helps is here the colors are a bit there's not that warmth that I think would make the space more appealing. And by introducing these warm glows here in the overlay, I think makes the overall space. So now you have a focal point to look at. The overall colors are more cohesive. You have a bit of projected shadows on the shapes also. You can take this much further, of course. But I think these lights also, even if they're not realistic, they help to define the shapes inside the room. And with this painting, the problem with this painting for me is that I never work on this kind of. So I would I this is much more skillful than what I can do because I don't do these kind of paintings. They are very informative. There's a lot of research. Um, the interiors that I do are mostly it's more to evoke an emotion and to see to show it's more to it's something like a still from a movie where you clearly want to direct the viewer to one point and there's a lot of haziness and you can imagine a story. I think this kind of painting from Paul is more it's informative and perhaps it's going to be built as an environment in a game, but that being said, he asks specific points. He would like to have the lighting check, the focal point, and rendering, how to make it more presentable. Um, I took a look at this painting, and immediately when I saw this black and white sketch, I thought, well, this is a bit more appealing than the final result, especially because here and I don't know if it's because I think it's because it's black and white, and because some of that contrast was lost here when when I'm going to address Paul directly when you added the colors, because here you can clearly see the light entering into the room. You have these strong cast shadows on the floor. You have almost this vignette around, and I think this works quite well. And I think this is lost a bit here, especially because there is, I don't know why, but I think, let me take this into Photoshop, see if I can do that, copy, and I have to change application, stop sharing and
I
share.
believe Pao is a graduate of FZD, Feng Zeus School.
Yes, probably.
Yeah, I think this was one of her homework. Yeah, but it shows.
Paul is a girl or
Oh, yeah, I
I
forgot to
don't know.
mention. It's
Sorry.
all right. It's okay. Pao is a girl.
Um, I have been confused with my name with the girl so many times, so it's one of those things.
Oh,
Can you see my Photoshop?
yes, we can.
Okay, so I think let me see if I can take back this here. So I'm going to push the levels a bit more, and I think you could do the same here. I'm going to be very messy now. Uh, so adjustment layer, reduce, and
Oh,
let me see if I can. Okay.
oh, I like that.
And work with all the things here that are being hit by the light coming from the window. Imagine shadows. Here, this could be lit. This door also here on top, this side. These probably should be darker. This here too, here, and even some cast shadows below. And the light comes from here. Let's fake some more light coming in here. And especially there. Then I would darken these clearly because they're drawing too much attention. And probably this one too.
Cool.
Some more light here. Even if it's not realistic. And let me see if this works or oops, too much.
Oh, night and day.
Yeah, I think, and then an overlay just with, okay, a warm color here. I don't know if this will work or not. And make it more like end of day. And then even, I don't know if that's going to work with the color dodge and a very dark brown where the light is hitting. And even these here on the floor might work. So now you can see that I think this is closer. Let me see if I can put this in black and white. Let's do it like this. If I compare these two, I'm going to... So I don't know if it's obvious, but this is closer to the sketch, I think. I don't know if you understand what I'm doing. So
Yeah, we can.
this with the adjustment, this without. And if you put it in black and white, I think this has too much light overall. And this one is closer to the initial sketch. And then what I also think helps is here the colors are a bit... there's not that warmth that I think would make the space more appealing. And by introducing these warm glows here in the overlay, I think makes the overall space. So now you have a focal point to look at. The overall colors are more cohesive. You have a bit of projected shadows on the shapes also. You can take this much further, of course. But I think these lights also, even if they're not realistic, they help to define the shapes inside the room. Okay. Let me save this then. Okay. I'll just leave it here then. The next painting, I'm going to... I think
there you go, pal. Oh, pal says thank you.
Okay,
Sometimes
great.
you gotta add some darkness in your life, guys, to see the light.
This one from Webstein.
Yeah.
And when I took a look at this, I think, yeah, this is... What I thought is, well, this perspective would give me headaches to be able, because he asks, how do you not get overwhelmed and be able to finish an environment piece? There seems to be a lot of elements when doing environment design compared to just doing individual props or characters. Yes and no, although I would get crazy painting props and characters because you have to be aware of so many details. With environment paintings, it's easier to focus on one area and erase a lot of details on the other. And with this one, is the perspective is crazy because this is quite complicated. I would definitely build a 3D model here, or simplify the shapes. And here, what I would do is, I think the focal area is this gate, this entrance, and the staircase. And I don't know. I think these two competing highlights, it doesn't help.
Mm.
What I would do is I would reduce this. Um, Let me do it like this. Um, okay. I would take away this bright sky, but I would leave it just to define these silhouettes, because these, I think, are interesting to give a kind of a backdrop to the scene, and it's just silhouettes of some towers. And I know you mentioned the Gothic architecture element, and I'm changing between the round brush, but one is with opacity and the other one is without. Um, and here probably darker. And I'm trying to combine these shapes, simplify them, because they're not the most important aspect here of the scene. But this painting wasn't finished, so I'm saying things here, but I think these aspects can be addressed at this earlier stage of your painting to make things simpler afterwards. I'm going to darken it a little bit more, another overlay layer with the dark green. Um,
Oh, I found the
okay.
brief again. I'll read it again. So, specific points you want to be checked. How do you not get overwhelmed and be able to finish an environment piece? There seems to be a lot of elements when doing environment design compared to just doing individual props or characters. All right. Just reviewing the brief. I mean,
Okay.
the stuff you put.
Yes, that was written.
All right.
Again, warm glows, and I'm going to darken it a little bit more on that side. And now bring back the highlights. Probably it's a bit too dark there, but anyway.
Woo!
And then the perspective here. Going to simplify these shapes, make some of them stand out. Could be a statue here. Problem here with this shape in the back is not helping. And I think overall the perspective is, the vanishing point is a bit too much.
Oh, there we go. Okay, I got a
Um,
question. Is it okay if I ask while you're
yes,
drawing on
yes.
it? So, like you mentioned earlier, like this would give you a headache. So, how would you go about something in this perspective? Like you mentioned, having to draw a 3D model. Like, is this one of the rare instances where you'd have to use 3D?
Perhaps, because what I would do is I would, I don't know, when I do a new window, can you see this new window or?
The navigator? Oh no.
No, I think Photoshop. well, at least I would, if I had taken, I would take the sketch,
Oh, there we see it. Yeah.
uh, and I would probably start like this. I would focus really on the big shape. Um, there in the back. Here would be perhaps the staircase. Here could be the door. Perhaps it goes all the way up. And here I can control my values in a much more controlled manner. And once I have this, but really if that perspective, if the client would say, no, it has to have this staircase and it has to have these pillars, then I would, or the client would give me a model to start from, or otherwise, if they said, no, come up with an interesting perspective of a Gothic church and a staircase, I would focus more on these large shapes. Okay, here there's a staircase. Here in the back, we can see a city and some towers. And by working on this in this way, I wouldn't focus on the details here. It would be much more important to, okay, here are some pillars. Here another pillar. Here more or less the perspective. Handrail. Here again. Here there could be a platform here. A near foreground element. So I'm looking at this in terms of shapes, not the perspective. And then I would start to slowly carve out the details, clean up the perspective. I would probably put the guideline perspective guidelines here. But at this stage, I'm still more concerned with the overall shapes and the overall perspective. I don't need to take much care if things are correct or not. And this, I'm more interested if the slide, where the slide hits on these stairs. Perhaps there could be here some highlights. And if I compare this, no, didn't copy. Okay, here. So here I can much better control what the focal point is. It's here, and here's some foreground element, and here's a staircase, and then there's that in the back. Here it's much more complicated at this time because I will have to clean up some areas to make the focal area this door, and probably make it brighter. Then I can have those highlights here. Some here. But there's struggle with the perspective here, and these elements, they probably don't help that much. You can even add some clouds here or some atmospheric perspective, because this you can only suggestion here. Okay, some openings. You don't have to have those arches have to be perfect. It's just an idea. And well, so I've shifted the focal point to clearly to this part. Did some shape grouping with this in the back, so you can have a clear foreground. Here I remove details that you don't need. Atmospheric effects are always very moody and help a lot in these kinds of scenes. But this is what I would do. So I would have went a step back to establish the main shapes. But it's difficult. It's easy for me to say this, but I understand that at the time, when you don't have a firm grasp of perspective, you just need more practice, and it comes with time. But that's why working with small sketches and shapes is very important in the early stages. And then let me find the third one.
It's for you, Webstein. He'll see the recording. I think he's somewhere else right now.
Yeah.
I'll
And
say
this
thank you on
one,
his behalf.
okay. This one from, I think it's Spectre. And he or she says
Oh, she.
feedback. She, okay. Feedback for the overall lack of cohesive design and some suggestion for a more solid storytelling for the intended purpose of my work. So here, I think this is a great starting point. The starting point is already very good, and there are a few things that because there is a focal point here, but I think you can make it more obvious, and some elements I think are distracting. For example, these priests here in the foreground, I don't think you need to include them. They are just too big and distracting. Even this one, I think, is not necessary. You can have a root here since there are these trees, instead of having a guy sticking out, you can have this, it's like a root in the foreground and some leaves here sticking out, but it doesn't break. And then there are these tangents, that doesn't help. Here a little bit further, you can have some haze here in the back to better define this shape. And then what I immediately saw when I saw this is I don't think these light sources would be enough to light this in this kind of way. So I think I would probably take out these ones in the middle, darken this area probably a little bit, and just introduce let's see. And now with the color dodge, a bit darker, a bit more orange. And here also. And I think this element here is a bit distracting. It doesn't help unless it's a necessary element, but I think it's too big. And here it's the symmetry on the other side. I don't think it's needed here, or you can add it as a darker element. And the other thing that I thought at the time was, I think this would work better if, let me see if I can do it quickly. Okay. This could be some, again, atmospheric elements being hit by the moon. And this part, I'm going to hide the selection, could be just read as a silhouette. And there could be another layer of haze here. Then another layer, but on top of everything, just to control it a little bit better. And another one here in the back. This blue, but a bit brighter. And now if I combine them, this one, no, this one, okay. So there's, if you introduce these, it's almost like cardboard layers in the back, it helps to add perspective, depth to the whole image. The birds were working, so I would reintroduce them. And a bit like I did in the previous image, so I'm cleaning the background elements and changing their DNA into something that's more it's only defined by silhouettes, and it's a much quicker read, and you don't spend so much time looking at it. You understand there is an element here in the back, but the focal area is this one. And probably here also give a bit more contrast to the steps, as if some parts were being hit by light and the others were in shadow. And that's what's always works well, is these kind of rim lights, even if they're not real. It helps. Even here, introduce these elements, for example, is too much detail on these silhouettes. Just paint over them and simplify them. And if they have more like they look more like brush strokes, they aren't that much detail. It's just implied, the detail. Here you can also turn these more into silhouettes. Here you can fake this one being hit by the light. And let's see if this works or not. You can see here, this is much more simple. And here you're looking at this big pillar. It's quite big, and then there is a light. And if you do it like this, I think you can still paint over this a bit more to make it really melt into the mist in the back. And this one would have to be, I'm going to clean it up quickly here. And perhaps this tree, you could make it more present. The roots could really be thick, and perhaps just imply that it continues here, but being careful not to overdo it so it doesn't draw too much attention. Then removing these characters, because I think especially here it's almost as if he's hiding something behind, and here it looks much more open, the scene. You can add a bit more bushes here or vegetation. And now you see that the focal area is here, and then it always works well is to have these reflections on the floor when the floor is wet. Probably not doing it correctly, but it always adds. And I'm going to another overlay layer with gradient. Okay, and but I think the image was already very good. It's a matter of defining the shapes even more and to see what to make the shapes as large as possible without destroying the design, because the bigger a shape, the more readable is at first glance, the more pleasing it is to look at, and just focus then the detail, define the focal area where you need it to be, and the rest should be. This could even this tree could be read more as a silhouette, lightly paint in. Don't erase all the details inside it, but it's much more interesting when it's read as a shape rather than an object with a lot of texture. And okay, yeah, that's more or less what I had in mind. I think, yeah, the images, videos, portfolio, yeah, I think so. If you have any questions, you're probably already bored.
Oh no, they've been aggressively typing here. Oh, Ella says thank you so much, and then she put the crying Pepe the Frog
Okay,
emoji. Oh, she's asking, like, do you teach in any courses? So you mentioned oh,
great.
you took CGMA courses, but do you
Yes, I took
teach?
them. I took them.
Okay.
I took about 5 or 6 of them. Although probably only 2 or 3 were good. The other ones I didn't. Ended up not using the knowledge that they were giving. But no, I don't teach anything. It's I don't do any kind of um, knowledge passing. It's more the Patreon videos that I have when people are curious to see how I work, but I don't go over them. I don't analyze them. There are no documents. Um, so, but that's more or less how I learned, from looking at the resources that are free online and then coming up with my own techniques. And so, but my main advice is never make 2 intervals the same. Um, Work on more than one painting simultaneously. Start small and then go big. Have a healthy life, and try to have fun, and especially install OBS, record your own videos, and then go over them once they're done to see what did work and what didn't, and post online regularly, because at least for me that fills up my ego, and it drives me to keep working and present work to the people.
Oh, we got one last question from Pal.
Sure.
She's asking, oh, I think it's a technical question. How does the
Okay.
PSD lighting tool work? What does the dodge tool, blur tool do to the art? Do you use, I think you said you rarely
Yes,
use like color dodging, but yeah, could you
yes.
explain?
So the layer modes that I use the most are, as you saw in these quick examples, are overlay and color dodge. Because overlay is great to combine, to make all the colors shift in one direction, and it helps a lot to introduce glows, and also to introduce colder shadows. But you have to be very careful, because sometimes things might get washed, and things might get oversaturated and too dark, especially if you use the overlay layers in shadows. So use them sparingly, but they are great to combine colors and make the whole image more appealing. And the color dodge layer is great to introduce glows. But for the color dodge layer to work well, is make the area where you're going to apply the color dodge, make it darker, and then you can exaggerate the color dodge, and especially work with very dark colors in color dodge, because if they're too bright, it will over burn the image. It doesn't work. But those two color modes I use them all the time.
There you go, pal. And actually, it's a perfect time. I think we're gonna end right on time. So once again, thank you, Andreas, for taking the time to join us. How can we support you? Where can we find you online? Do you need like support, subscribers anywhere?
No. I don't need anything. I just want people to take in what I said, and I hope it helped. And just have fun with it.
All right, you guys heard that. Enough said from Andreas Rocha. I got it.
Rush.
Did I get it?
Perfect.
Thank you. And I'm also gonna get this right. Obrigado. Oh.
Muito bem.
Yeah. You thought I
Very
was gonna
good.
say gracias, right? Like those tourists? No, I
Yeah,
did my
but
research.
gracias, the Spanish are, but Portugal isn't Spain. But you got it.
Exactly. That's why I
Perfect.
said obrigado. All right,
Muito bem.
guys.
Thank you.
Let's say goodbye to our guest. We're gonna have a little chat with
Yeah.
DJ
Yeah.
and Red again. So once again, guys, we're gonna sign off. So thank you for coming.
Bye.
3, 2, 1, cut.
If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much. But if you're still looking for more ways you can learn, just head on down to our website at brushpoint.io, where you can watch behind the scenes of this video, watch our live interviews and artist interviews a week earlier, art processes, tutorials, art talks, and lives every single Friday, and even a way to join our Discord community. Just check out that website. Well, that's it. If you want to share this knowledge, well, share with your friends. Like the video, and of course, subscribe if you want more content like this. Thanks again, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.